Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to another Fallout 4 mod review. Today, we've got a special little treat, a dual showcase, 2 mods for the price of 1 video. Today, we're checking out 2 new missile launchers, one of which is the Modern Warfare 2 Strela-P, and the other is the Modern Warfare 2 JOKR, both of which made by Alphaca. Each of these mods are going to add a very unique missile launcher into the game, complete with custom animations, a very nice addition for an explosive weapon like this. Missile launcher mods are few and far between when it comes to the Fallout 4 modding scene, so having 2 coming out in recent time is pretty dang neat. Now, these are Modern Warfare ports, so they are going to use assets from Modern Warfare 2, but I gotta say, these are some pretty top-notch missile launchers. They each have their own unique aesthetic and unique functionality. Both of these mods are actually very different from each other, and thus could both be added to a game, offering their own unique roles and style of play. Now, the Strela-P is your more traditional missile launcher, offering a dummy fire missile that you can fire and forget with a pretty lengthy reload between each shot, something you'd expect for a missile launcher. But the JOKR is a bit more different. You may know this as the Javelin from past Call of Duties, and this thing is actually more of an artillery piece. It is going to require a lock-on to function correctly, and it will shoot the missile up into the air, and then it will slam down into the target, so it can pretty much hit anybody no matter what cover they're behind. Unless, of course, they're under a roof. Even then, though, this missile seems to be so overpowered that I actually managed to clear an entire combat encounter with 1 missile. It literally killed everybody outside, inside, and on top of the vault in 1 shot. That's pretty crazy. By far, I'd say the oddest thing when it comes to both of these missile launchers is the balancing. One of them feels criminally underpowered and the other a tad bit overpowered, but we'll talk about those a little bit more when we get to the stats section of this video. Another thing is how you actually obtain these weapons. Neither of these are added to the leveled list, so you will not be encountering either of these in the wild, which I would say is a pretty good thing when it comes to that JOKR, because that thing would kill you from a mile away. But as for the Strela-P, that is something I would kind of like to see on enemies. It is a missile launcher, and it proves to actually do less damage than the vanilla missile launcher, making it not too terrible in the hands of your foes. But the sad thing is that it's pretty terrible in your own hands. But that's just without perks. Once you actually add perks into the equation, both of these function very well. But if you're using this thing stock, it is a little bit rough and will require multiple shots sometimes for even some of the weaker gunners and raiders. Now, like I did say, these weapons are not added to the leveled lists. You are actually going to have to find them at their distinct locations, as each of these are one of a kind. For the Strela-P, you need to head over to the USS Constitution, and on the top floor of the ship, you will find the Strela-P. Now, as for the JOKR, in my opinion, this one is a bit too easy to get. Simply head over to Good Neighbor, up into the top of Cleo's shop, and there it is, ready for you to take and destroy countless enemies with. Now then, let's talk stats for these 2 rocket launchers, starting off with the Strela-P. As you can see, this thing has a base damage of 150. I believe the vanilla missile launcher is somewhere in the 200-ish range. It uses missiles, of course, as its ammo type, has a fire rate of 1, a range of 766, and I can back that up. This thing does shoot pretty far and decently accurate, with an accuracy of 84, a weight of 20 pounds, and a value of 300 caps. Altogether, pretty balanced stats, though I will say, in actual testing and performance, it does feel to be pretty underpowered in terms of damage, and I don't use that word very often. When shooting at humanoid enemies, I do tend to take multiple shots to bring them down, though that could be more of Fallout 4's problem, considering in the late game, everybody is a bullet sponge. Now, moving on to the JOKR, we have a completely different set of stats with a base damage of 15. That's actually just a weird way that Fallout calculates the damages. Because this thing has a custom and I assume a scripted projectile, all of that damage is actually in the projectile itself and not this weapon. So this damage doesn't really apply, and as shown earlier in the video, this weapon packs quite a punch, bringing down behemoths and entire settlements in just 1 missile. Again, this thing does use missiles for its ammo type, has a fire rate of 2, a range of 11, an accuracy of 65, a weight of 20 pounds, and a value of 300 caps. Some pretty similar stats at the bottom here to the Strela-P. Now then, let's talk about custom animations as well as custom sounds. Here we are with the Strela in-game. By the way, this is going to require see-through scopes as it does have a custom reticle. As you can see, we also have a custom aim model animation, and when we fire this thing, it has a beautiful custom animation as well. Now, moving on to the JOKR, we have a totally different beast. This thing does have custom animations, but what's more important is how this weapon actually functions. You can dummy fire it like the Strela, but the scripted projectile doesn't know where to place the missile, and oftentimes it will end up killing you. So it's very important to lock onto something when you fire this thing. So I have placed a Deathclaw over there, and when we fire this, you'll see that it'll go up and then come down. And you may or may not have noticed the animation for this thing is really just lowering the weapon. It doesn't actually have anything on screen. Now, that being said, both of these do also have custom animations in third person. Starting off with the Strela here. And then also the JOKR, and this one is just a tad bit janky. Yeah, I would say don't fire this thing in third person. Now, when it comes to attachments over at the weapons workbench, both of these weapons do have attachment menus, but they each only come with one attachment. And that is the option to throw on sleight of hand, which will increase the reload speed of the animation. So that's very helpful for both of these weapons, considering they both have very lengthy reloads and can only fire one shot before needing to reload. Now then, it is of course time for our damage test, where we can see how these weapons actually perform in combat using a Deathclaw as our damage baseline. But today we're doing things a bit different. We're only going to have one Deathclaw out at a time, so we have no damage spread between each missile. So I'll reload the save every time we do a test here. Now then, here we have this Deathclaw checking out the Strela-P. Like I said, this thing doesn't perform super well with no attachments and no perks, which is how we have it set up right now. And Deathclaws do have a pretty high explosive resistance, so this might actually take a while. I'll go ahead and speed things up for you guys in post. And the Deathclaw is finally down on what I believe was the 7th missile, which honestly is far too much, even for a Deathclaw. Now then, we'll be doing another test with the Strela, this time with maxed out perks and the addition of that sleight of hand perk to make our reload speed a bit faster. Now, something pretty interesting about the Strela is it takes damage upgrades not only from the heavy gunner perk, but also from the demolition expert perk. I'm not sure if that's how the vanilla missile launcher actually works in vanilla Fallout 4, as I've never really played with it too much, but that does allow you to actually get this thing from a measly 150 damage up to 570. So this thing should actually fare pretty well now. Let's see how much those damage upgrade perks actually affect the Deathclaw here. Holy shit. The answer is quite a lot, taking us from 7 missiles to just 1, which mathematically makes no sense considering our new damage, but hey, I'll take it. Now then, let's try out the even stronger JOKR missile launcher. This thing is going to pack quite a punch. I'm actually going to take a step back here because the explosion radius on this thing is really, really big. Aiming for our Deathclaw, this thing should be a piece of cake. Yeah, it even crippled me, as well as destroyed all of our lighting and even our windmill back there. This thing's kind of crazy. Now, I also want to test out how this thing does with maxed out perks, and it already one-shot the Deathclaw, so how do we step up that and actually gauge how well it does? Well, let's make it 3 Deathclaws. Yeah, I'm gonna get further back this time. This thing is kind of crazy. It still crippled me. That's insane. But all the Deathclaws are dead. This thing is a monster. The fact that it just spawns in Good Neighbor is kind of ridiculous. So yeah, that is the Strela-P as well as the JOKR. 2 very, very different missile launchers. One of which requires quite a bit of perks to actually get that thing working, and the other one works so well off the bat that I don't know if it even belongs in the game, but it is a lot of fun. Regardless, if you want to try either of these out, they will all be linked down in the description below. So go ahead and try them out today. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to drop a rating. It really helps out the channel, and consider subscribing if you haven't already for more videos just like this. As always, a big shout out to all of my patrons for supporting every single video, and of course, a very special thank you to Avian4, Captain Chaos, Freedom, Glasma, Helljumper, Indecisive Wolf Kid, Hades, Cushy, Logan Rigmaiden, Microhon, Moonlit Gamer, Oscar, Scott, Sterling, Steven, Timmy76, Youth RC, and Voider for joining that Tier 3 Patreon membership. If you'd like to support the channel over on Patreon, you can do so using the link down in the description, but it is completely optional. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Peace!